Please call the roll this evening. And just a
Store.
reminder to everyone, when you talk, please push your button down to be able to speak in the mic. We're trying to record in the back, and it only goes through the mic. And then when you're not speaking, please turn it off. Thank you.
Store.
Present.
Straub.
Here.
Summers.
Here.
Taylor. Thorsland.
Here.
Finished Theronot.
Here.
Wolkin.
Here.
Carter.
Here.
Cowart.
Present.
Esri. Hurtado.
Here.
Goss.
Here.
Harper. King.
Here.
Lockshin.
Here.
McGuire.
Here.
Michaels. Pasalakwa.
Here.
Paul.
Here.
Rodriguez.
Here.
Patterson.
Here.
There's a quorum present and the meeting's called to order. Just to let the board members know, the envelope with the closed session minutes is passing around the room. Please sign off and just pass it on. Next is the prayer and pledge of allegiance. The prayer tonight comes from the Lutheran hymnal. God grant us in all of our doubts and uncertainties the grace to ask what you would have us do, that the spirit of wisdom may save us from false choices, and that in your light we may see a straight path and not stumble. Amen. Would you rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. Would the clerk read the notice of the meeting, please?
Notice is hereby given that a regular meeting of the County Board, Champaign County, Illinois, will convene on October 21st, 2021, 6:30 p.m. in the Shields Carter Meeting Room, Brookins Administrative Center, 1776 East Washington Street, Urbana, Illinois, in said county for the purpose of allowing and ordering payments of claims against the county, receiving and acting upon reports of committees, and such other matters as may be brought before said meeting, which said meeting shall continue in session from day to day until the completion of said business.
Okay, thank you, Matt. Next is approval of the agenda. Can I get a motion? Ms. Cowart, can I get a second? Ms. Michaels, thank you. Any discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next is date and time for the regular meetings. The standing committee for the facilities was moved to Monday, November 8th, which is a week later. Environment and land use and highway are the same times this month as they normally are. Committee of the whole will be the same time on November 9th. There are two special committees. The broadband task force will be meeting the first time with the consultant, which is Finley CCG. They will start at 6 o'clock, not at 6:30 as listed here. They will be starting at 6 o'clock. And the jail's facility meeting will be on November the 3rd. County board meeting next will be November 18th. And that's it for the meetings coming up. I believe there is some public participation tonight. The first person is Sherry Stegman. Would you come up to the mic here? And yeah, Jim, would you show her how to push the button? Thank you. You'll have 5 minutes, Ms. Stegman.
Oh, I don't think I need 5 minutes.
Okay.
I have a question for all of you. Is the proposed bonuses for county employees during the pandemic, would that apply to remote people who were at home?
This won't be a board discussion. You'll
Oh,
just have to say whatever
okay.
you want to say.
I did an informal survey in the grocery store, and I asked people what they thought of the county board giving money, that was federal money, to people who were at home and paid their salaries and insurance, and for the most part were not able to do their jobs because the buildings were closed, and that's where their jobs were. And I surveyed 4 people, minorities, non-minorities, and they all said, "You're kidding, aren't you?" I said, "No, they're considering this." And they said, "Well, I didn't get paid." Another one said, "I didn't get paid." Another one said, I was working overtime and I didn't get paid for overtime." And someone else said, "I lost my business." I find it appalling that you do not consider what the public reaction will and should be to even thinking of paying bonuses to people who were paid completely throughout the pandemic. And by some stretch, if you want to consider sheriff or people at the jail who had to be there. Other than that, not only were they paid, but for the most part, when we made phone calls, no one answered. So the public was not well served, though it was probably not the fault of the people because everything was closed. So please consider what the public would think of people getting bonuses who were paid and stayed home. Thank you.
Okay, are there any other members of the public that wish to speak this evening? Okay, seeing none, we're going to close public participation. Next is the consent agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda? Ms. King?
So moved.
Thank you. Mr. Thorsland?
Second.
Thank you. Would the clerk call the roll, please?
Storr,
Yes.
Straub,
Yes.
Summers,
Yes.
Thorsland,
Yes.
Vantage Thiradon,
Yes.
Volkin,
Yes.
Carter,
Yes.
Cowart,
Yes.
Furtado,
Yes.
Goss,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Lakshin,
Yes.
McGuire,
Yes.
Michaels,
Yes.
Pasalakwa,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Patterson.
Yes.
Motion carries. We're now to communications. You'll note in your packet there's a request from OSF Healthcare for ARPA funds. And then does any member of the board have other communication regarding business of the board tonight? Mr. Pasalakwa.
I have a letter to read. My name is Renee Mullen, and I live in Champaign. The redistricting map process certainly seems to have been a mess, initially rushed through without allowing for input from the public, those who the county board is meant to serve, and then childish bickering amongst the board members. The map should clearly take into account the most recent census data. It should take into account population growth and also the relative compactness or lack thereof of various districts. The variance between the highest and lowest population districts is also relevant. We don't need a partisan map. We need and deserve a fair map both for urban and rural areas. Gerrymandering is wrong, no matter which party is doing it. We need to get back to fairness and providing an opportunity for the best person to win, not rigging the system so only certain people will even stand a chance. We teach our children to play by the rules, to keep an open mind, to respect other people's opinions, and to behave civilly. The county board needs to lead by example, not to teach children how to bend the rules or cheat the system, and not to prevent others' people's opinion from being heard.
Any other board communications? Ms. Lakshin.
I just wanted to make sure everybody had seen there was another gun violence death overnight in Champaign. A woman from Rantoul was killed in Champaign here in town. So this is definitely an issue that's affecting the whole county. And thank you for continuing to work to address it with the ARPA funding and other funding to fund programs here in Champaign.
Any other board communication? Okay, seeing none, we'll close that and move on to approval of the minutes. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you have your hand raised, Ms. Carter?
Yes.
Okay, sorry.
I just wanted to thank the Farm Bureau and Brad Eukin for the ride-along that I participated in on Tuesday. I learned all about the harvest combines and soybeans and corn. It was very informative, and I'm thankful that I had a chance to do that. So thank you for the invite.
Anything else? Okay, now we will go to approval of minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of September 23rd, 2021, the regular meeting, and October 12th, 2021, the public hearing?
So moved.
I'm sorry. Mr. Storr, was that you? I'm sorry, I couldn't.
Ms. Miss?
Oh, Mr. Goss. Can I get a second? Ms.
Second is
Lakshin?
Lakshin.
Any discussion or corrections to the minutes? Seeing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Next are the reports from the standing committees. Environment and Land Use, summary of action is taken, summary of action taken on October 7th, 2021 at the ELEC meeting is received and placed on file.
Darlene?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I can state with reasonable certainty that the meeting, as denoted as remote, was actually held here in the Shields Carter Room. As chair, I do believe I saw people in this room with me, so if we could just correct that in the record. Thank you.
Okay, it says remote in the minutes.
It does.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm sorry.
Ma'am, I believe there's 3 sets of
Ms.
minutes.
Michaels?
There's 3 sets of minutes that we need to approve, and you only had requested the 2 dates, I believe.
You're right. I missed the September 14th. I wrote on top of it. I'm sorry.
No problem.
I'll
Thank
go
you.
back.
Thanks.
Okay, we're in the middle of a motion. Well, we receiving and placing on file with that correction, the minutes for ELEC. Go back to the previous approval of minutes. I did miss one of the minutes for September 14th, 2021. So I need another motion to approve those, please. Ms. Straub? And Ms. Michaels, thank you. Any further discussion on the minutes? Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thanks for catching that. Next, we're down to areas of responsibility. The summary of action taken on October 12th at the Committee of the Whole meeting is received and placed on file. We're down to the Finance Committee. I would like to just take an opportunity here to consider the next item of business. I would say that this has been a very unusual budget year. We have received a significant amount of federal funding with very few strings attached, which has been very unusual for this year. This has resulted in a tremendous opportunity for our county, accompanied with a responsibility to spend the money well on behalf of the 205 county residents. As with our personal budgets, we all have different priorities on which to spend. This is discretionary income. As we finalize the 2022 tentative budget, I want to thank the board members for giving the time to listen to the department heads, the public, and each other, and to keep in mind that when the final decisions are made, we should be grateful that these funds will enable us to do things that were considered out of reach just a short time ago. Would the finance chair make the committee's recommendation for item 1?
I move the adoption of resolution number 2021321 to receive and place on file the fiscal year 2022 tentative budget.
Thank you. Can I get a second? Mr. Patterson, discussion on the budget. Mr. McGuire.
Thank you. Thank you, Tammy, and all the department heads that helped form this budget and the hard work that was taken to do that. I did want to note, though, that someone already mentioned that there was a shooting. I did request that we double the number of deputies requested in this budget. We didn't feel that was a priority, apparently. But obviously, with the violence and crime in our community, we need to ensure that the public has proper protection and deputies across the county, and we're not doing that. Secondly, while we are working on consolidating the jail, many people are still making too many comments about not making sure that we have a safe, secure, consolidated jail and putting the funding behind it to make it happen as soon as possible. Those should have been the priorities of this county. We've been waiting too long to see those things happen. It's the board's responsibility to make sure they do happen, and they aren't. Thank you.
Any other discussion on the budget? Ms. Furtado?
Yes, I'd like to move to amend the budget, and specifically for the ARPA funds, I'd like to add $4,490,714, which is essentially the balance of the remaining ARPA funds, to the line of county department costs, and specifically $2 million in engineering and architectural services and $2,490,714 for other equipment.
Can I get a second? Mr. Patterson, discussion on the amendment?
Can I speak to it?
You want, yeah, would you like to tell us?
Sure. So I think that just there, in conversation with staff, and after listening to the jail meeting that was online, is that we have a lot of office needs, particularly the sheriff's office, the clerk's office, and the public defender's office. And we might have an opportunity to address some of those needs in the upcoming year. But as the budget currently stands, we don't have the flexibility to do both that and address the design of the jail. And I don't think that we should be waiting on either one of those things. So I think I would like to see more, I would like to appropriate the remaining ARPA money into the budget so that we have that flexibility and ability to do so. I do think that in any of these things that we would want it to come back to the board to have a conversation if there are expenditures that are not listed on the categories that the board approved. With the understanding, of course, that the categories that we did approve, as you've said multiple times, Darlene, aren't final numbers, right? So, the elected officials and the department heads did their best to try to figure out what things will cost, but I know all of those are moving targets. But if we decide to do something that's wholly not on there, I would hope that it would come before the board. But I do think that we need to be in a position to move forward with those projects. And so I'd like to, that is the reason for my motion.
Any other discussion on the amendment? Ms. Michaels?
Could you restate those numbers and where you wanted them?
Sure.
Where you thought they would be placed?
And
please?
let me be clear, this is not, the breakdown is, I got that from staff and from the executive, not so much from me, because what we have that we did not appropriate is $4,490,714,000, and that is the remaining balance on our 2021 allocation. My suggestion is that we put $2 million towards engineering and architectural services, because for all of the projects that I just listed, we would need funding in that category, and then $2,490,714 for other equipment. And again, the goal would be that this is not just like open season on ARPA money, but that it would be targeted. In my mind, we have three big projects that we need to address on the county side, and those are the jail, the technology, I don't know even what the right word for it is, system at the courthouse, and then the office space that we need for multiple of our elected officials and staffing needs. So those three things, all of which, and then the idea is if we didn't expend any of that money, just like any other ARPA money, it would fall back to fund balance and we could reconsider it. And then just one last piece of transparency. I had intended on that September 30th meeting where we had a discussion about the budget to go back. We started with the county side, and when we were done, I had planned to go back and suggest we put more money into the county side, but it was 10:30 at night, and honestly, I just was exhausted and I kind of forgot. So I wasn't going to originally suggest we put the whole amount in, but in conversations with folks here at the county, that just seems to be a way to go.
Ms. Michaels?
Yes, ma'am. If I can follow up. In this tentative budget, I think we vote on the final in November, so this is just to kind of get it going, if I understand correctly. And
That's correct, because already, bless Tammy, when I just spoke with her about this, I mean, it's not like, the way our budget is, it's not like you put it in one place, you know what I'm saying? Like, she has to go back in and put it in lots of places, and so I feel like it wouldn't be fair for us to do that on that final vote. I mean, we could, in my mind, we get 3 swings at the budget, we get last week, this week, and then November, so I'd rather at least we try to do it now and not wait till November if possible.
And this budget includes the $750,000 that was addressed by
Yes.
the
You could
public
see-
participation.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on the budget? This amendment? Okay, seeing none. How many in favor? Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Now we're back to the original motion to adopt this tentative budget with that amendment. Any further discussion on the budget itself? Mr. Patterson.
I just want to take a moment to thank the staff who put this together, particularly Tammy. I know this is a very difficult task, dealing with however many different department heads that are all autonomous and making sure that you can balance everything out. I also know it's been a very, I've only been here since 2016, but it's been a very wild ride financially for a number of different reasons. And just really want to thank Tammy for her leadership financially.
Okay, anything further on the budget? Seeing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to the special committees. The summary of action taken on October the 6th, 2021 Jails Facility Committee meeting is received and placed on file. And then we're down to new business. Can the executive get a motion for adoption of resolution number 2021-326, approving bid results and recommendations for Champaign County Highway Salt Dome Roof Replacement Project pursuant to ITB number 2021-010?
So moved.
Mr. Pasalacqua, second. Ms. Carter? Discussion? I'm sorry, Ms. Cowart, was wrong. Did you want to say something, Ms. King? Okay. Okay, those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item B. Can we take, if there's no objection, we'll take B and C together? Okay, hearing none. Can I get a motion for adoption of resolution 2021-327, authorizing payment of claims, and adoption of resolution 2021-328, authorizing purchases not following purchasing policy?
So moved, Lockshin.
Ms. Lockshin, Mr. Thorsland? Any discussion? Seeing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Okay, motion carries. Can the executive get a motion for adoption of resolution number 2021-329, appointing Chris Diana to the Board of Review for the unexpired term ending 5/31/2021? It should say 2022 in the agenda here. That is correct on your resolution. Mr.
So
Goss.
moved.
Can I get a second? Mr. Storr? Any discussion? Seeing none, those in favor? Those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Can the executive get a motion for item E, adoption of ordinance 2021-10, rescinding ordinance 2021-7, and establishing the Champaign County 2021 apportionment plan map? Mr. Patterson? Can I get a second? Ms. Carter? Discussion? Mr. Patterson?
I guess it just, because I should have made the motion with the map name. This would be Equity Map Census 4.
There is a blank in the resolution that needs to be filled in with the name of the map, yes. Any further discussion? Mr. Goss, did you want to say something?
Yeah, which map are we? Did
They're
you fill
talking
it?
about Equity Map 4.
Yeah, I have a comment.
Go ahead.
Yeah, this map should not be called equity at all. It should be called power and control. I applaud those whomever helped design this map for getting the population exact. I am left to wonder, however, if it was on the taxpayers' dimes while they were working at Cunningham Township. Just a rhetorical question because we'll never know for sure. Indulge me for a few minutes to visit history. The Democrats in this county have held the majority now for 20 years. What have they accomplished? Well, they closed an old dilapidated nursing home, built a new one at the taxpayers' expense, guided over numerous mismanagement issues, and then fought and voted to keep it when it had nearly ruined the financial position of the county, and it ultimately cost the taxpayers over $25 million. Could you imagine the lawsuits facing this county if we still had been running this facility? The track record said it would have been in the millions. Oh, that's right. We've already settled millions of dollars of lawsuits regarding the nursing home. And to top it all off, Democrats chose to leave the old dilapidated nursing home until it's condemned and unsafe, and yet they still have not removed the structure. They lorded over the board as the downtown jail went from below average to uninhabitable, unsafe, and literally a lawsuit waiting to happen. Why? Well, I can only surmise to appease the vocal minority of activists in this community who are against law enforcement. We can see as the taxpayers have funded these programs through the Mental Health Board and this county board that the violence has increased under their watch. It clearly has not gotten better. Now they want to funnel $4 million of ARPA money to these same organizations because we all know that the only thing that they need is money for programs to change the behavior and culture right now. Their track record says it won't work, but let's throw this quote-unquote free money at that instead of fixing the problem they created by not taking care of the citizens' infrastructure in the first place. These very same activists have cost this county millions of dollars in delaying this decision, and behind the scenes, there are many of these same Democrats supporting and funding these activists. This Democrat control spread into the elected offices. You all supported a treasurer who single-handedly destroyed the county financial position and reporting and the reputation of the office in just 13 months. You called me out for being a bully, as the elected official did nothing, and I mean literally nothing, for months, and once again cost the citizens and taxpayers more money and heartache to fix the problems she left in her wake. Problems, I remind you again, that are not fixed today. Can you imagine if we still had that nursing home draining every dollar that we had, that you all supported, out there with a treasurer who couldn't even provide us reports and no idea how to do it or even acknowledge there was a problem? Another fine reason to give Democrats more power and control. You all laud the diversity of the county clerk's office, but would it be too much to ask for competence? This is the third tax cycle overseen by this office. It is the third year there are taxing bodies not receiving their correct levied tax dollars. Or in the most recent case that I found out just yesterday, a taxing body, a drainage district in the southwest part of the county, that turned in their levy and they received no levied dollars at all. Now they're left to try to figure out how to pay their payments to the bank without any of the tax dollars that were supposedly going to be levied. This is the third year in a row that multiple taxing bodies in my district have come together to fix the levy for a TIF district that's in my district. It has been well documented with the issues regarding the local elections. Safe, free, fair elections, that's not been the case. Rules have been broken. There have been numerous equipment issues and notification problems that have existed in just 3 years and 5 total elections. But hey, we have more people than are able to vote by mail. Accept this map because it's not about equity, it's about power and control. It is so these same Democrats can complete their mission to trash this once proud county. Madam Executive, I call the question.
Okay, we will take a vote on the map.
No, we won't.
I'm sorry,
No, we
we need a
won't.
second.
I second the call of question.
Okay, it takes it two-thirds vote. to
Yeah,
call the
it does, I'm
question.
sorry. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second, Mr. McGuire. We're going to vote on the map, and I guess we need to do a roll call here so we can
No,
tell.
no, we're voting on calling the question. Calling the question takes a first and a second, and then a two-thirds vote.
But we have to call the roll to get a two-thirds vote.
Yes.
Yes, that's what we're doing. We're calling the roll now for the question.
Store,
No.
Straub,
No.
Summers,
No.
Thorsland,
No.
Benish Thirinot,
No.
Wolkin,
Yes.
Carter,
No.
Cowart,
No.
Furtado,
No.
Goss,
Yes.
King,
No.
Lakshin,
No.
McGuire,
Yes.
Michaels,
Yes.
Pasalakwa,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Nope.
Patterson.
No.
Okay, the motion to call the question does not pass. Mr. Patterson, did you want to say something?
Yes. I know this is a place for heated debate, and, in many ways, that's why we were sent here. And when we talk about the issues, we have varying, views on it, and there's a lot of points of disagreement. And, it's stuff people are passionate about. All of us are here because we're passionate about serving. We're passionate about government. We're passionate about it doing the right thing, based on whatever our, internal views of what the right thing is. But I am very disappointed in Mr. Goss. It's one thing I understand you're critical of some of these office holders, and that's your right to do so. But to suggest that I personally have behaved unethically in my job, that I would take the time that I'm supposed to be working in my day job and do county business, do what, in some sense is political business, is deeply upsetting. If you understood what my job has been like for the past year and a half, I work at the Cunningham Township Supervisor's Office, and we help people who are struggling to get by, struggling to pay their bills, people who are living on the streets, who are sleeping outdoors, who are sleeping in laundry rooms of apartment buildings, women who have to sleep with men to stay sheltered in the winter months. If you understood how much the volume has increased in what we do and how desperate the situations are, you think that I have extra time? I am stressed beyond belief with this job. I am up at night thinking about the heartbreaking cases, the caseloads that are trying to deal with that are just, there's never enough hours to get those done. And so for you to try to get political points off of suggesting with no basis whatsoever that I have taken that time, and instead of helping those desperate families that you have never known, that I am sitting there doing this, you called me out, that you're just, it's a joke. I have nothing else to say. We've talked about this map enough. Champaign, we know how large the growth was. You think the districts are going to stay shaped the same?
Okay, do we have any other comments about the map? Seeing none, we will now vote on the map. Those in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Summers, did you? Yeah. Those opposed? Okay. I believe that passed. Okay. Well, we can do a roll call. That'd be fine. I think it was pretty clear, but go ahead, Matt, call the roll. Call the roll, Matt, for the map question. They want to call a roll. The map question?
Storr,
Yes.
Straub,
Yes.
Summers,
Yes.
Thorsland,
Yes.
Benish Thiranot,
Yes.
Wolkin,
No.
Carter,
Yes.
Cowart,
Yes.
Hurtado,
Yes.
Goss,
No.
King,
Yes.
Lakshin,
Yes.
McGuire,
No.
Michaels, Pasalakwa,
No.
Paul,
No.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Patterson.
Yes.
Okay, the motion does carry. We're down to item number 15, other business. Has everyone had a chance to review the envelope that has gone around with the closed session minutes? Okay, I need a motion to review the minutes.
Can I
You
say
have-
something real quick? My name is Stephanie Carter on there, and I scratched it out, so.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's just for you to know.
Okay.
That's, yeah. Okay, Mr. Patterson, would you read the motion, please?
Sorry. Should we just do these all at once? Okay. I move to open the county board closed session minutes 9/20/07, 11/20/07, 2/21/08, 4/23/09, 5/21/09, the county administrator search committee closed session minutes of 1/8/2016, and for all other closed session minutes to remain closed.
Thank you. Can I get a second? Mr. Storr? We cannot discuss this unless you want to go into closed session, so I need to know now if anybody wants to discuss. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and vote. Those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. The next item is for discussion or information only, and Kathy Larson is here if you have questions tonight. She provided an update from the project manager for the ARPA funds in terms of what's been allocated to date. Any discussion, any questions for Kathy? Mr. McGuire, did you have your hand raised?
Yes, I did.
Okay, Kathy, do you want to come up to the mic just so you can answer the questions?
Thank you, Kathy. Obviously, the budget's been set up in tranches of money for different responsibilities, whether it's violence or mental health or any of those things. We had a lot of different organizations that came forward to present their ideas of how they would spend the money if they were given the money. I haven't heard a lot of discussion about how that process would work, whether there would be an application process, how strong it would be, how the organization requesting ARPA funds would prove their ability to be successful in the targeted population, what kind of accounting processes. These are examples of things that I think we should have to ensure that the money's spent properly, that the organization have to show that they can properly report the spending of the ARPA funds for federal reporting, so the county doesn't have to return the funding, that the organization has detailed business plan that provides detailed plans and properly educated staff and required area of expertise to ensure success of their programs. Does the organization understand should focus on a short-term program as the funds are short-term? That the ARPA funding and organization and program meets income limits of other organizations' state funding requirements, like RPC has for rental assistance. Does the organization have a history of success with the programs they have had and can show educational degrees or experience in services they'll provide? Sort of an application process like the Mental Health Board has for their grant funding and their applications. And has the organization ever not received funding through the Mental Health Board because they didn't meet the qualifications needed for even mental health, or that they did not meet. This suggested numbers of people that they might have reached in their application. Does that all make sense? And, well, we have an application program. Thank you.
Yes, so regarding these other projects that are projected in the budget, we would be meeting to discuss the next steps for each topic, and each are a little different. So for the mental health topic, we'll have certain reporting mechanisms that they'll be required to submit back to us quarterly. For the other topics, it will depend on each category, whether it was talked about, if there would be a navigator perhaps for that program, or if we would be accepting applications. So once the budget is fully approved, we would be proceeding with those discussions and whatever committees need to be formed, and talking about the requirements for each category, for each topic. Yeah.
So are we sure that there's going to be an application process, and that organization or program will bring that back to the county for an up or down vote on whether we support that organization? Obviously, you're saying they're going to have to create the application process, but as a part of that application process, that we as a board will vote that application up or down based on the information received and their ability to perform the suggested work.
Yeah, it's my understanding that any of these programs that go through for discussion would, come back for some sort of approval before, each topic is different. For example, the housing, one of the parts would be discussing with Housing Authority, and so each topic is a little bit different. But it's my understanding we would have involvement with the county board, and some sort of process for each one would be different for different topics. Yeah.
So Jim, just to clarify a little bit. So let's say, for example, one of the things in the budget is that you thought it would be a good idea to support the land bank effort for housing renovation for homeowners. And if that's what you want to do, then there's one agency that's doing, the land bank is already set up, so we wouldn't need to have the application process to do that. We would just go ahead forward and work out a contract with them to do that. In the contract would be outlined all the requirements that we would need to have happen for the U.S. Treasury reporting, those kinds of things. And then Kathy will be reporting back to the board on a quarterly basis where we're at with all of the projects that are running, so everybody will know. Some things we'll still have to do applications or some other process. For example, like you did with the mental health board, we sub-granted it to the mental health board, and then they're doing the vetting of the organizations. So depending on what the projects are, each of them could be a little different.
Right, and my suggestion is that they have an application process like the mental health board does, but even the land bank or other organizations that are suggesting that they accept money and provide services needs to, I think, be able to prove that they have, in a tight labor market, the people to do the work, or in a mental health case, that they can get the counselors and the people to a business plan to prove that.
Right, and that's where Kathy will be doing, is she's the point person to be either determining how they'll be vetted or what's allowed by the U.S. Treasury in terms of the way the monies can be spent, things like that, and she'll be keeping track of that.
Well, I think it's a different thing to keep track of it, or whether to actually bring the application for the county board to determine whether it's a viable plan, because we can't give them $2 million and then not have them fulfill those responsibilities, and then have them spend the money, and then the county be responsible for returning the $2 million to the federal government.
Yeah, and some of the things will need to come back to the board. For example, you guys allocated, let's just say, $500,000 for housing, affordable housing. There's not a project yet. It's just for affordable housing, whatever that's decided to be. So we will have to have some kind of process set up to determine what that is. Ms. Carter.
I think what Mr. McGuire is referring to usually there's so much red tape that's connected with funding stipulations, and I think he's just asking for as much red tape as possible to make it not reachable to the people that really need it in our community that's actually doing the work. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you. And Ms. Kathy Larson, I just ask of you and the board to not make it complicated for these people that are in need, that need this money. Hopefully they can get it. Everybody, I would hope, will go through an application process, but we don't need any extra red tape or stipulations connected to the money. The community needs it. There is not $1 amount that anybody can say should go to gun violence, because we don't know. Same as far as of affordable housing, we don't know. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Ms. Straub, did you have something?
Yeah, I'd like to start by thanking everyone who's wearing a mask. It really shows a lot of respect for your fellow human being during a global pandemic. That's wonderful, thank you. I appreciate that. But my question is, if folks are under contract, logically, if they don't meet the contract, they don't get paid, right? So we can kind of be done with this.
Any other discussion on this topic?
One last question, or statement.
Mr. Patterson,
also.
excuse
Oh,
me.
I'm sorry. I
Mr.
didn't see
Patterson?
his hand raised when I.
Thanks. I just want to thank Kathy for the work she's put on this project. I mean, this is just a really historical amount of money coming through. Usually when we get money, it's for very specific, detailed projects, but this is a wide range of possibilities, and it's just been an absolute cluster to deal with. And just thank you for helping us sort through this. I know it's been a lot of complicated questions that some of them you still haven't been provided the full answer for, and we're just kind of figuring out as we go. So I really want to thank you for that. And also, a special thanks to Stephanie Furtado. Usually board members aren't as involved as she has been this past, I don't know, since about March. And we've had more study sessions than any other local government in this county. We've been more open to the public, to hearing from different community organizations, to get a real diversity of views. And Stephanie is probably every other day a 45-minute rambling phone call about Stephanie figuring out the different intricacies of bond policies and possibilities. And just really want to thank her. This is a job that does not compensate very generously, and a lot of us, we're essentially constituent legislators, and she's really stepped it up to help us as a caucus and as a board really understand what we're doing and having a focused strategy. And just really want to thank you.
Mr. Powell, did you have something to say?
Yeah, there's a question of, you have a lot of experience. Is there any problems you foresee happening in the transition of allocating funds? And is there any way that we could get ahead of those problems?
Well, for each of these topics, it'll have its own process and own either committee or subset of people that will need to discuss the details. And I'm still keeping this master database of all the ideas and requests. So, something that may not have a specific mention with a budget discussion, but it's still a topic on here, we'd go back to that list and say, well, here's the entities that we've heard from so far that submitted ideas, and try to vet those discussions. I foresee that we would be able to have positive partnerships with any of these entities for these topics to be able to get the information and the services that are needed, especially from having these discussions from the start with each of these. So there's a lot of details that'll need worked out, and it will take time, and it will take multiple people. So, and of course, we'd be reporting back to you guys or discussing for approvals that are needed and all that, yeah.
So, thanks, Kyle. That was really sweet. I appreciate it. And what I want to say is this. I think that we as a board, this is only going to happen once, right, in our lifetimes. And this is an opportunity to make real difference in the lived experiences of real people. And shame on us if we aren't up to meeting that moment. And the only way that this is going to be successful, I mean, I don't know if you know this, but our staff at the county already work super duper hard, right? And stay super duper long. I can't tell you how many times I get, text messages from Tammy at night, right? Like, Kathy's only one person. So if you think about, when I look at this list of projects, and including on the county side of projects, like, we're like at step 1A. And if we're going to get for this to be successful, and I really feel like for this to be successful, we need to think and take the time to plan it, right? Because, I mean, we could take $4 million and put it into addressing community violence and mental health, like an infusion of cash, and everybody gets a little bit more money than they usually get. And at the end of the day, did it do anything? We need to take the moment to make an actual coordinated, cohesive plan. Same thing for public housing. We've already started it for broadband, right? So we need to take that time to do the planning to make sure that when we decide to actually then make the expenditure, that we're doing so in a way that is vetted by best practices, right? As folks were saying, that we have the staff in place and available to do what we want to get done. And so I agree with Kathy, like each of these different processes are going to be different, right? Some things are already further along, and I think that the idea about rehabbing houses in rural areas to keep people in place is a great idea. I think we should just start talking to him, to Mike, get the details worked out and fund that thing, half this year and half other year. The public housing piece, I think we need to work with public housing. The mental health piece, I think we need to bring in somebody to do the same kind of plan that we're doing with broadband, right? And I get that there's anxiety about the jail, and I understand that. And listen, let me be very, very clear. We are going to take care of the people that we incarcerate and those staff. But the deal is this. We were sent here to make this a better county. We can do both. We can do the jail and we could do the things on this list. Right? We can. We have the opportunity to do that. And, I'll speak to people on my side of the aisle. We're going to have to put some ARPA money into the jail. That's just the way it is. But I'm going to also speak to folks on the Republican side. We are going to take care of the jail, but we are also going to invest in the real lived experiences of Champaign County, whether they live in rural areas or they live in urban areas. And if you're interested in something on this list, if you care about something on this list, come with your sleeves rolled up, because we need to do the work to get the plan, to get it done, right, for the people that we represent. We put $2 million into rural water project assistance. I have absolutely, what's the process to how do we allocate that? I don't have an answer for that. But if you got ideas, let's talk and let's get it done, right? This is a moment where, I don't know, what do we get paid for this board? $60 a meeting, right? But who cares? We could leave after we're done and actually have gotten something done. I think that's exciting. And I think that, we might all have different ideas about the vision of what that looks like at the end of the day. But I genuinely believe that everybody in this room cares about people in this county. Other words, you wouldn't be here. Because unless I miss it, this isn't fun. Being on this board isn't like something you do for kicks. So let's take this moment and figure out the ways that we could work together. And I think we have an amazing person in place with Kathy, who I have the utmost confidence, who knows what it takes to be in federal compliance of grants. And so I think we just need to think of Kathy as a resource to make sure that what we end up doing puts us in the best position as possible. So that's all I wanted to say.
Mr. McGuire.
Thank you. I'm a little confused because I do agree with everything you're saying, that we have good organizations in this county that have a history of accomplishing a lot for the public. Some of the issues I'm having when talking to people is there's no application policy process. They don't understand how to apply for this money. There are limited funds. We have a lot to accomplish for social programs in this county. My point is we need to make sure there's a process that's easy to understand, that properly vets the organizations that are asking for the funds, so that we ensure that the money is spent as well as possible to serve the public and isn't lost because they aren't really qualified to accept it and they take it anyway. My point really is to make sure it works and it serves the public. And that's why I ask the questions. It's not because I don't like the services. I wouldn't have spent 8 years on the Community Action Board if I thought there was a problem with serving the public in social programs. So anyway, hopefully, thank you for your work, and we can have a strong application process that people can make the application. Thank you.
Ms. Carter.
And see, that's where I think we have the problem, because we've made this so personable. We've neglected the fact that this is for the community, not, oh, because they've gotten this much in the past, oh, they've gotten this from. We should be thinking of all people of this community, of this county, not just interested when we're talking about broadband. Right now, we have the Black community that are really suffering. It's uncontrollable gunfire. We're losing kids daily. And it's like, oh, well, the people that can help them, well, we want to make sure their funds is low so they can't help a wide range, because it's affecting the whole county. We don't have a dollar amount. We don't have $1 amount. We don't have just one organization that's going to do the work. We got multiple organizations. So whoever's gotten in the past, that's okay, because right now we have a different task at hand, okay? You're making it so personable. I didn't realize this is what this board was about. We're never going to get anywhere. You guys have been hurt, and I don't know why, because nothing has been brought from your personal accounts to help anything towards this county besides your taxes. So stop making everything so personable. This is not what we're here for. Thank you.
Are there any other comments? Mr. Thorson.
Thank you, Samantha, for that. Thank you, Kathy, for all your work. I want to thank you especially for page 71 of tonight's packet, which became very popular out there on social media. One of the things that was helpful for it was I got lots of questions since this started. Why are we spending $20 million of ARPA money on the jail? We're not spending $20 million of ARPA money on the jail. One more time for those in the back. We're not spending $20 million of ARPA money on the jail. And having your chart there helps point that out. I'm hearing a lot of people talk about this money. You know what it's like when you're a kid and your dad gives you that free car and you spend the rest of your teenage years throwing all the money you have into working on the free car. This is free money, but it's free money brought to us by all the Democrats in Congress and a Democratic president. There are 0 GOP votes behind this. Despite that, it's come here to the county. The county is not just Democrats, despite what you hear about the map. You'll have no stronger advocate as a city dweller for the rural people than you'll have in me, because I spent 2 decades of my life out there in Northwest Champaign as a rural Democrat who had to sit and work with Republicans all the time. I think Mr. Goss knows my involvement in the community when I lived out there, and I continue to think about that area just as hard as I do everywhere else. We have this $40 million present, this gift given to us as a county, and now we have to do the work to get it done. Kathy's doing the work, Stephanie's doing the work, Tammy's doing the work, the board's doing the work. We have had all these study sessions. What I want to see as this goes on, there's going to be more. There's going to be more meetings. Everybody needs to come and be ready to do the work because it's going to be work. We have to get it done right. Jim's right, it does have to be spent well. We can't just throw it everywhere, but there's a vetting process. We go through various agencies. All of this is going to be work, but it's going to have to get done and be taken care of well. We will address the jail. We will address rural broadband. We will address drainage and water and Garden Hills and the rural areas, places in Paxton and Ludlow. We will take care of that because we have the opportunity brought to you by the Democratic members of the federal government so that we can do this work. So let's get ready to do the work and stop bickering about how and who deserves to get the funding. Make the pitch like they have. We will distribute it and we will take care of it. Thank you very much.
Are there any other questions for Kathy? Okay, I just want to point out that we did get one other piece of information for the board from the Office of the Auditor, which normally we wouldn't get right at this moment, but I'm hoping everyone had a chance to read through that as well. The auditor is here, I think, if you have any questions for him. Okay, seeing none? Seeing no further business, we have now placed the budget on file for public comment, which means this meeting will be recessed until we vote on the budget. So we will recess the meeting until the November 18th meeting. Thank you.